To recap, gated navigation, also called variable controlled logic or something along those lines. You know, in essence, you're going to have a lot of things on screen that you want the learner to make sure they visit to understand before they move on. Will they? We don't know, but it's the best way we can control it. So first thing we need to do is get rid of this next button. Of course, as we discussed in class, we can easily go ahead and come over here and make a trigger, right? So we could say change the state of, oh, I didn't name it, the pentagons or the next button to hidden because we want it to be automatic when timeline starts and then the timeline of this particular. We could do that, right? But that's going to convolute things over here a little bit. I mean, just look at this already. All I have is layers showing and then that. And then it could just get really messy. So anything that we can do that is built in, we should do it, right? So I'm going to delete this. And we know that I can click on this and go to states, edit, nope, initial state, and set that to hidden, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that to the rest of these. Okay, good. Initial state hidden. So they're all hidden now. So I'm going to do all three. And I'm going to go ahead and throw a jump to slide, next slide. And here we go again. So jump to slide. Okay. So here we have three items. Now the first method is very built in, is very easy to do, and is the one you should default to if in fact it's just this one content area that you want. That's not going to be linked to any other scene, any other chapter, anything along those lines. Okay? So for the sake of that, all we're going to do is come to our timeline, and we're going to make a state called visited, right? We don't want to do selected. We definitely want to do visited. So I go edit states. I'm going to add a state, and it's going to be built in, right? So just go ahead and do this. Drop down, built in, and say add. Now, something that you can do, which I like to do, is yes, they visited it, and things are going to happen on the back end, but you always want to kind of add a little bit of something so the learner knows they've been there. So I'm just going to go ahead and insert a shape check mark. And I'll do this, right? So just, I don't know where to put it, but I actually don't like that at all, but that's what we're going to do. You know what, I'm going to delete it. And instead of doing that, I'm just going to format this and recolor it. There. So if they visited, it goes gray. Okay? Great. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go to the bird now. I'm going to say edit states. I'm going to add a new one. Go to visited. Add it. And again, I'm just doing this to kind of show that they've been there, right? So I'm editing. And then I'm going to come to this. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Come to this doggy. Built in. Visited. Add. And then I'm going to go ahead and make the gray dog gray. Let's see if there's a difference. No, but you get the point. So there we go. Let's go ahead and see what's going on. Everything is normal. I click on it, goes to visited. Click on it, goes to visited. Click on it, goes to visited. Hard to tell with these last two here, but sure enough, it did. Now, next thing we have to do is make this next button show up, right? So we know that we want all of these to be in the visited state before this shows. So we come over here, we click on this, and we're looking, and we say, change the state of, and of course, pentagon is what I put to normal. Not when the timeline starts, but I want it when those states are all changed. So I'm like, state. And then, of course, it says all of, so I can come down here and I can say bird, dog, fish are visited. And then hit OK. Very simple, right? I mean, built in, I didn't even have to do anything here except say, hey, show these layers, which, of course, is what yours will do. And then I added the visited state. So let's just see. No next button. Fish, bird, dog, next button. Okay? So that was the built-in. Now we move to the true-false, right? Now to do the true-false, there's a lot of steps behind it, but that's okay. So we have the kitten here. So I'm going to go ahead and make my variables. Remember here, using this universal sign of variables is this x. So I click on that, and I make one, call it cat, and I want it true false, and I want it to start false. And then I'm going to call it frog, true false, false. And as you probably guessed, horse, true false, false, we're okay. Cat, frog, horse. They're all set to false. So what we need to do is put code on here. I keep saying code, but you don't have any triggers that change them to true, and that the next button will then show up when all three are true. So the first thing we're going to do is put an instance on here. So %sign cat, %sign. And I'm not going to say I'm the best at this, but I'm pretty good at remembering things, right? So I know that I called that cat. But one thing that you can do is if you do Control-T, that gets you your text box. But then you can come up here to insert, and then all the way over here to reference, and then you can make sure that you get this correct. See how that automatically put the %sign in and put the frog in? And that's just a good way to do it if you forget maybe what your variable is called, or how you spelled it, title case, and all that stuff. So it's just an option. And there we go. So now when I preview this, they should all show up as false. False, false, false. Outstanding. Good job, Sealy. Now, we already have things happening here, but I want to click on this cat. And what I want it to do is change that to true. So I'm going to say adjust variable, right? So the best, even if you forget class or you're not paying attention to the screencast even, just go through this list, right? I mean, it's not a long list. The only one that even mentions the variable is this one. So trial and error says I should pick adjust variable, and I want that variable cat. Assignment's fine, value is fine. I just want to change that to true when user clicks cat. And we're good. Now I'm going to copy that. I'm going to click on the frog, and I'm going to paste it. All I have to do on now is change that variable to frog. Okay. I'm going to click on the horses and paste it. And all I have to do is change that variable to horse. See that? I mean, because I was copying and pasting, because I made the effort to actually click on the item that I want to associate the trigger with, that automatically changed the object here. So all I had to do was change the variable. And you'll notice when you copy and paste, hopefully you get in the habit of doing that, that it does the same thing. So, okay. Now I can preview this. And false. True. False. True. False. True. Now we just need to get that going here with the code on the next one. And that is going to be change the state of the pentagon to normal. The only one in the whole list that says variable is variable changes. And we'll start with horse, which is fine. So it's going to start with horse. And let me just show you this because we didn't do it in class. Let me say, okay. So because I said that, and because the variable here is starting off at false, the idea that it changes is it doesn't. We don't even have to specify that it changes to true. We just have to specify that it changes, right? So when I click on this, see that? Next button automatically comes up because that variable changed. So that's why that condition part is important to add the specifics, right? So I'm going to go ahead and add that and say variable horse is equal to true. And variable frog is equal to true. Okay? And variable cat is equal to true. Okay? So now, exactly like we just said, this will work as long as the last thing that we click is horse, right? So I'm going to go through this here. If I do horse, frog, cat, nothing happens. See that? But if I replay it, did that work? Replay it. So if I replay it and go bah, 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 now it works fine. And that is basically saying, if you read this code, it's saying change the state of all of this when you click horse, but only if all three of these are true then. Right? So that's the condition, that all three must be true, but it's only triggered when the horse variable changes. So we just have to take that, duplicate it, and change horse to frog, duplicate it again, and change frog to cat. Okay? So now when I preview this, everything is lined up quite nice. True, true, true. That's kind of a dumb way to do it because we knew it was going to work that way, don't we? Or if we do bah, bah, bah. So there you go. There is a lot going on there, but the idea is that we can take these variables and really carry them throughout. Now finally, we come into the number one. I like the number one the best, as I told you, because we can just, it's very minimal and it's generic. So you can use just many times this interaction without having to specify. And by that I mean here I had to put the states actually on these three objects. Here I actually had to say cat, dog, horse. I mean, I could have said 1, 2, 3. Here I don't need to do anything except create another variable, a variable called show underscore next. I want that to be a number, and it's going to have a value of 0. So all I have to do now is Control T, insert reference, show next. I'll put that up here. And then when this equals 1, 2, 3, show this, right? So that means on these buttons, all I have to do is say, again, adjust variable, and the variable is show next, and I want to add 1. Now I just have to copy that, click on car, paste it, and we're good. And I'll just show you. See, adjust variable, so because this variable is staying the same, and the only thing changing is the object, and because I had the object selected, that's all I have to do. So now I just have to click on this, paste it, same thing. So now, when we click on this, we just see that it's at 0, goes to 1, goes to 2, goes to 3. So, as we've been doing to this point, we want to say change the state of the pentagon and the next button to normal. When the variable changes, that variable will show next, and I want that condition to say that it is equal to 3. Okay? And let's just see if that works. Car, bike, boat, next. Okay. Now, the thing about it is, you could do that, right? So that's what stinks. Boat, boat, boat. Next button shows up. So there's some added things that need to go on, and as discussed, if that's something you want to pursue, we can go ahead and talk about that further. But for now, use at least 2 of these methods, depending on how you have it in your project, for next week.